the real question is, how does Jesus fit into this book? How does he fit into all of this stuff that we've been talking about, right? That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to talk about is pretty much is that what this book of Ecclesiastes does so well is that it shows the glitches and the fractures of life.
Yes.
That's what it does. And it not only does that there, but it's honestly pointing to other portions of Scripture, specifically Genesis chapter 3, verse 16 and 19, where you see where it says, "To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat it. You shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Now right there, I personally believe, right there, that you can see how sin has entered into the world. And that's what Ecclesiastes honestly is what's kind of speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
How sin has made life hevel.
Yes.
It has fractured the relationship between men and women. It has fractured, I would take it as far as even, I want to say, even as far as creation itself. Earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, all that stuff, global warming, all these things has, in my opinion, is there, things that cause suffering and stuff like that, is there because it is the ripple effects of sin itself.
Mm.
Now, other people might have different interpretations of it. That's my view of it. And that right there is what Ecclesiastes, in my opinion, is kind of speaking of. The fracture, the mishaps, the glitches in the system of life, the things that just don't seem right and that don't seem like they should be there, but yet they are there and they are the reality. Mm-hmm. I hear so many people say the fundamental reality of life is pain.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a problem.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a huge problem.
Is this the way it was meant to be?
Exactly. That's what it makes you think. Is this what it's actually meant to be? And we have passages right here. For example, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 28b through 33 talks about how the relationship can be fixed. And then we even have in Revelation chapter 21 and in Revelation chapter 22 talks about how the whole earth is going to be renewed and how there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And then we also have in 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 4 through 9, it even shows how the governmental systems even point to something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how, specifically in that verse, how pretty much even Saul or David's position wasn't even supposed to be there. Just like Moses was, you know, it was really supposed to be God. Mm-hmm. But because of us constantly rejecting him, that sin, which goes back to the root of the problem, is what keeps getting in the way and tainting things. That's specifically what 1 Samuel is actually really getting at, 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 4 through 9. But then you also have in Romans chapter 13, verse 1, where it speaks of how us Christians can fix the governmental system. Hmm. And what I'm really trying to get at is that the real way of fixing it is through Jesus. What all of Ecclesiastes is getting at is that Jesus is here to move away all the smoke. There's going to come a day where he's going to come back, and all the mishaps, all the misfortunes, all the glitches and fractures and problems and suffering that people are experiencing, one day Jesus is going to wipe all that away. Mm. This mist, this smoky substance that we're in, that we call life, that the author calls hevel, is going to be gone. Mm. Everything's going to be clear. Nothing's going to be like a smoky mirror looking back at us. What is your thoughts on that? How Jesus fits into it?
No, this is it. So like you're looking at Ecclesiastes, and he's looking at this world and how it works, and he's like trying to figure it out or how to make things right. I think like he goes into all these different positions of life. Like you can hear him talking about, okay, there's all these seasons of life, and this is how life works throughout time. And then in chapter 6, if I remember correctly, he's like talking about like different ways of, human success, where it's like wealth, honor, children, longevity, all of these things, and how they all pass away, and all of these, and riches in particular, like riches that you almost think would be a good thing on their face, when there's too much of them, they're to your hurt, right? And so it's like I see this person searching through all these different things in life to try to figure out how to make it work, because he had everything, is what this is, right? Yeah. Built great things, had some sort of, just a very lavish lifestyle, and that he figured out that wasn't it. And going through all these different ways to perceive life, he finds that it's meaningless. Right? Yeah. And so if you think about this person as a super wise person who pondered things for a very long time and he couldn't find a solution, to me, I almost think like the solution wasn't there yet. The solution wasn't provided yet. And so I view all these different ways of looking at life as providing an outline or a silhouette. And that silhouette is Christ. Ergo, you can try to figure it out on your own, and you're going to have all these issues, and it's going to be that smoky. You're not going to be able to understand it. Or you can just take God at his word and trust Jesus, and like all of it clears away. It makes it way easier. And sometimes you might need to run your mind through all these different ways, and that's why they're here. They're here so you can bring an end to your mindless wandering of like, why does the world work the way it does? Read Ecclesiastes a lot, your brain will finally give up, and then you'll be like, all right, I just kind of have to trust, don't I? It's like, yeah, you do. Yeah, that's how you do it.
And that's like the first step is trust. Receiving it humbly.
Which is not as easy as like you think.
No,
it's not just trust. That's why this book is here.
Yeah.
Just trust.
Sheesh. It's tough. It's tough. But that's the great thing though, I think, about this book, that what it does is that I feel like it also calls specifically us Christians to take this time on this earth very valuable.